and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Nick Blumberg. Brandis Friedman has the evening off. Here's what we're looking at. The latest on the Bears stadium plans as Indiana pushes to become the team's new home.
I can't tell you how many people came forward to help this family.
After weeks in ICE detention, a Chicago man with epilepsy is returning to his family. And two local teen brothers on documenting encounters with immigration agents. First off tonight, the man acquitted of murder for hire against Border Patrol Chief Greg Bavino cannot be deported. That was the word from a federal judge who ruled Juan Espinoza Martinez is likely, at minimum, entitled to a bond hearing and not subject to mandatory detention. Espinoza was taken into custody by ICE last month after being swiftly acquitted of placing a $10,000 bounty on Bavino. ICE records show he was in custody in Clay County, Indiana, as of this morning. Don't wait too long to send in your vote by mail ballot. That was the warning today from Cook County Clerk Monica Gordon, who says a new Postal Service policy means that pieces of mail will no longer be postmarked when they're received, but when they're processed, which can be days later. That's especially true during high volume periods and in less populous areas. Under Illinois law, ballots are valid if they're postmarked by Election Day and received within 2 weeks. So Gordon says voters should take steps to ensure their vote is counted.
Do not wait until the final days or Election Day to mail your ballot. If possible, take your ballot directly to your local post office and request that it is postmarked at the counter when you drop it off. Beginning March 2nd, when early voting begins, there will be 55 secure mail ballot drop box locations throughout suburban Cook County. To reinforce this message, our office will be sending advisories directly to mail ballot voters and providing detailed guidance on our website.
Kobe White is a Bull no more. The longest tenured member of the team was reportedly traded today to the Charlotte Hornets just ahead of the trade deadline, along with Mike Conley Jr. in exchange for Colin Sexton and 3 second-round draft picks. White's played just 29 games this season amid injuries, but was on the court last night in a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Also this week, Chicago traded Nikola Vucevic to Boston. So far this season, the Bulls are 24-27. Up next, the stadium battle brewing between Illinois and Indiana. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Well, the Blitz is on as Indiana pushes to become the new home of the Chicago Bears. State lawmakers there are considering a bill that would allow a government authority to buy land and finance the construction of a new NFL stadium. The bill passed out of Indiana's state Senate last week by a 46-2 vote and now heads to the House. It has the support of Indiana Governor Mike Braun and Bears leadership. Joining us is one of the bill's sponsors, Indiana State Representative Earl Harris Jr., a Democrat whose district includes East Chicago. Representative Harris, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
So as we mentioned, you are backing this bill to create a Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority. What would that body be allowed to do?
Yeah, that body really will be responsible for a lot of the financial things. So in terms of purchases of lands that are necessary, construction, leases, anything in that realm, this body will take care of and make sure of. It's another step in the process of drawing the Bears and attracting them to come to Northwest Indiana.
So there have been a few different sites floated for a potential stadium. We've heard of one in Hammond, multiple in Gary. Have you or your fellow lawmakers been looking into any specific locations, or have you been focusing more on, as you say, the framework for helping to build a new stadium?
There are some specific locations targeted. When you look at the Wolf Lake area, in Hammond, which is pretty close to the state line. There are also 3 locations in Gary. One is near what's now Hard Rock. There will be a convention center there, so there's room for a stadium there. The Miller Beach area, which is on the lakefront and near the Gary Airport. So those are the predominant 4 locations we're targeting.
And what have you heard from constituents, either yours or other Indiana residents, about the possibility of a Bears stadium in Indiana?
It's a lot of excitement. I'm at the State House, and I'm going to say almost every day I'm asked about it. Here, when I'm at home, you know, when we're back for the weekend, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether I'm at the gym, people are excited about the opportunity of the Bears coming in. You know, if you know this, obviously, that when you look at East Chicago, Gary, Hammond, where I live and represent, we watch Chicago television. So people are Bears, Bulls, Sox, Cubs, Blackhawks, etc. fans, because that's what we see and that's what we're close to. So a lot of excitement about this.
You know, here in Illinois, our Sports Finance Authority still owes more than $500 million in principal and interest on the Soldier Field renovations from back in '03, as well as $50 million on the Sox ballpark that opened in '91. Are you concerned about those sorts of potential financial obligations for Indiana taxpayers when it comes to a new stadium?
You know, the reality is Indiana does sports things like this very well. When you look at the Pacers, you look at the Colts, you look at the Speedway, we're very good at figuring out a good financial plan that does not hurt the taxpayer. So those conversations are happening. That work will continue so that we can devise the best option for the Bears to come over and make sure that taxpayers don't take a big hit.
You know, and for a lot of Illinois lawmakers who have been somewhat more lukewarm about this than you and your colleagues, they're saying, you know, Bears Stadium isn't necessarily a top priority. They're focusing more on affordability rather than working with a you know, fairly well-off franchise like the Bears. What do you make of that argument from your colleagues over here?
You know, that argument has helped us. Indiana has a very good climate for business. We have been working on drawing more into Northwest Indiana. A bill I authored that became law last year created a sports commission. So this fits in our wheelhouse. When you look at the governor, you look at the House, you look at the Senate, doesn't matter if you're R or D, there's so much excitement about this in Indiana. And so nothing against Illinois. I do obviously like what's going on the other side of the state line. I love Chicago. But if they're not as interested in keeping the Bears, we definitely are interested in having them come over to Northwest Indiana.
Well, and it feels like you talk about that excitement, you know, with the governor, with your colleagues in the General Assembly. This feels like something that's moved fairly quickly. You know, not that long ago, the Bears were all in on Arlington Heights. Of course, there's been a great deal of back and forth about the stadium siting here, but yeah, it feels as though you and your colleagues in Indiana were ready to move fairly quickly on this. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. That's Indiana. Again, we have a great business climate. We have a great interest in professional sports. We've been targeting Northwest Indiana for economic development. There's a whole plan and thought on how we build up Northwest Indiana. So we're very excited about this opportunity and looking forward to how it continues as we continue throughout the rest of session.
You know, the Bears came out in support of this measure when it was initially introduced. We also saw NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell touring Indiana. Have you and your colleagues been in direct contact with the Bears, with the NFL itself?
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversation going on. You know, those are things that are happening, obviously, involved in this. And one of the things I'm glad you pointed out is that the NFL commissioner came to Northwest Indiana. He's a little busy, so the fact that he actually put feet on the ground in Northwest Indiana, looking at the sites we've discussed, that means a lot. And so we're continuing this conversation, continuing to work on this. We have Senate Bill 27, which is connected to bringing the Bears over and creates the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority. So we're continuing this process and we're working to get this done.
And do you expect that bill authorizing the authority to pass before you adjourn in just a few weeks?
Well, I mean, yeah, you just pointed out, we're going to be done in a few weeks. This is a short session for us. It's moving. It's already passed out of the Senate. It's over with us in the House. It's been assigned to Ways and Means, which is the committee I'm on. So we're expecting and hoping for it to be on the calendar soon so that we can discuss it and continue to move it through the process on the House side.
And should this bill pass and be signed into law, do you have any sense of how long it might take for an actual stadium deal to come together?
I'm going to presume that's going to happen fast as well, because again, that's how we work things here in Indiana. We want to get things done as soon as possible. Let's get it locked in and let's get moving so we can start in terms of locking in the location, start construction, obviously all the planning that goes along with the stadium, and some mixed use that will be involved in it as well. So it's a very big project, and the sooner we start, the better.
Yeah, I would imagine you're looking at not just the stadium itself, but perhaps what the larger area is going to look like, some infrastructure, some other development. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. Wherever the site, whatever the site is that's chosen, there'll have to be some work done to it. And then just planning out how we do a stadium and the mixed use. The mixed use is going to also help in terms of drawing in other business opportunities, providing housing, restaurants, offices, etc. So there's a lot of excitement about what this will mean for the growth of especially Northwest Indiana, but really how it will impact the entire state.
All right, well, Illinois and Indiana might be in competition on this one, but we love our Hoosier neighbors all the same. State Representative Earl Harris Jr., thank you for your time, sir.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Up next, a Chicago man with epilepsy rejoins his family after a month in ICE detention. Joanna Hernandez has the details of that reunion. After a month in the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a Chicago father of 3 is now back home. As he battled epilepsy, his wife never stopped advocating for him. Reporter Joanna Hernandez first brought us this family's fight to be together last month, and today we witnessed their reunion.
A sweet embrace followed by a deep breath as Albeiro Ropero Remolina sits in the kitchen of his home at last.
Contento porque, como le digo, Dios y la Virgen nos permitió otra oportunidad, pero gracias a ella y a él.
For Albeiro's wife, it's a moment she's been waiting for weeks.
Todavía no me lo creo. Estoy feliz, contenta, emocionada, porque una vez ya está conmigo y con los niños.
On Friday, the long-awaited news arrived that Ropero Remolina's habeas corpus petition had been granted and a bond was set. By Monday night, the family's caseworker and his wife drove to Indiana for a reunion.
Se me aceleró el corazón, las manos me temblaban de la emoción, ¿no?
After a month apart, Albeiro and his wife reunited at a restaurant near the detention facility.
Y en el restaurante, nada, lo abracé. Le dije que bueno, que gracias a Dios se lograron las cosas, primeramente pidiéndoles a Dios y toda la gente que nos apoyaron.
That help came from a team of attorneys collaborating to file a petition, along with a community that rallied behind his story.
I can't tell you how many people came forward to help this family in so many different ways. There's hundreds of people who responded to group messages and said, I can do this, I can bring a heater, I can bring shoes.
Ropero Remolina was detained along with his wife on December 29th. While she was released the same day, he was not. Instead, he was transferred to the Indiana facility, raising concerns about his health. His legal team fought to get ICE to administer his life-saving seizure medication. As we sit in his home now, he shares what it was like to be in custody with hundreds of other detainees. He says he's never been arrested before.
Y al ver tanta gente que salía y entraba, como los trataban, lo que a mí más me dolió fue como me llevaron esposado de aquí de Chicago para Indiana, sin uno hacer nada.
Albeiro says there were days when he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep, listening to dozens of other detainees share their stories and their hopes of going home.
Tristeza porque, como le estaba diciendo hace rato, no todos tienen la posibilidad de salir para este lado otra vez, sino todos, la mayoría que yo conocí los echaron fue deportados para sus países.
During our conversation, his 3 kids were at school and hadn't seen him yet, but the emotion was clear as he described being away from them.
Yo le dije que yo estaba trabajando, que ya prontico iba a terminar y pues iba a subir con ellos. Pero lo que más me partía el corazón era que ellos me decían que me extrañaban mucho y que querían era que yo lo llevara para la escuela.
This is video of the reunion. You can hear one of the boys say, "Baba." The couple sought asylum in the U.S. nearly a year ago after fleeing Venezuela. Now, with a second chance, Albeiro and his wife hope they can continue to build a home in Chicago.
Compartí antes con ellos, compartir más ahorita con ellos. Porque eso de estar encerrado allá, eso no... Es muy feo y pues no se lo deseo a nadie que pase por esa experiencia que yo pasé.
For Chicago Tonight, I'm Joanna Hernandez.
His attorney says Albeiro is one of thousands of immigrants who should be eligible for bond within days of their arrest, but are instead forced into detention until they file a petition with the federal court and wait for it to be granted. Up next, hear from two teen brothers documenting encounters with federal immigration agents.
Reflecting the people and perspectives that make up our communities, this story is part of Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices.
As the Trump administration's aggressive immigration crackdown has swept across the country, countless people have been documenting agents, warning neighbors with whistles and car horns, and uploading videos of their encounters on social media. Two of the people who have been on the front lines are a pair of teenage brothers from the Chicago area. They kicked off their work as so-called ICE watchers when Operation Midway Blitz began in September in the Chicago region, and most recently were on the ground in Minnesota, documenting Operation Metro Surge. Joining us now to talk about their work as ICE watchers are brothers Ben and Sam Lumen. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. This is so cool.
So Ben, what was the catalyst for you wanting to become an ICE watcher? How did this get started?
Yeah, we've always been pretty locked into the news and what's happening in the world, and we constantly have been seeing injustice, and there's not really anything we could do about it as teenagers in white suburbia. And so when we got a call from a family friend, my mom came in our room, turned my fan off, and woke me up and said, "Hey, our family friend has been tracking ICE now for 2 weeks in Chicago, and he just called and said that they are 5 minutes from our house and they're arresting somebody." And so we woke up, we got out of bed, and we drove over, and we were late, but ICE had followed a van of workers from an apartment building to wherever they were trying to go. They had broken the windows, and then they had arrested all 15 people. And we were late, we didn't see it happening, but a bunch of protesters were still there, and so we got connected to a bunch of groups in the area. And really just getting into that connection and then getting to know people more and really seeing how it's impacted people has just further shown like why we should be doing this.
And were you originally thinking of kind of just going to protest, to demonstrate, or were you always interested in trying to document what was happening?
I was interested in documenting. I mean, obviously like protesting is part of it, but videoing and showing what's actually happening is so important. And also we've seen that they don't have body cams, or if they do, the video's never shared. So just videoing it to show the American people what's truly happening feels so important. So even back then, that was something that I was thinking about.
Yeah, Sam, what about for you? Why is this work important for you to do?
I think just trying to get it to stop and trying to help people stay safe and like deterring as many arrests as we can, and if there are arrests, documenting them to make sure that people know what's going on and they get fair trials.
Yeah. So, you know, your work puts you in very close proximity to federal agents and often some potentially dangerous situations. Let's watch a little bit of a recent interaction that you had.
I know, but it is illegal to impede.
We're not impeding.
No, this isn't an illegal warning. Impeding is a violation of 18 U.S.C. 111.
No, 18 U.S.C. 111 says you can publicly observe.
No.
I'm not yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Next time I pull you over, you're going to get arrested.
I'm not impeding.
Arrested.
For what?
Traffic.
We are not impeding traffic. We are following every traffic law. That is illegal. We are following every traffic law, and we are not getting in your way. We are just filming, which is our First Amendment right.
So, Ben, what were you feeling when they confronted you like that?
They've done that before. It's not our first time. But honestly, it's an empty threat. A lot of times, ICE can't do anything to us other than, you know, be scary. And so a bunch of it is fear factor and fear tactics. And that's one of their many things, is saying, we'll arrest you if you keep doing this because it's illegal because of 18 U.S.C. 111. 18 U.S.C. 111 basically just, there's other things that go into it, but it basically just applies if you're blocking them with your body or your vehicle, or if you're physically like touching them with your body or your vehicle. And following them, giving them space. Like obviously you're letting them operate, and you're just filming what happens and documenting and trying to get any information is totally legal under 18 U.S.C. 111, and it's your First Amendment right. And so they will often quote it to you and say like, you're going to get arrested because of this, but that's just an empty threat. It's really, it's not, and it's not illegal at all. Yeah.
You know, so trying to dissuade people from documenting agents is one of the tactics that you mentioned. Sam, what are some of the other tactics you've seen on the ground?
I think oftentimes they'll just scare people, and so like they come in to like intimidate everybody with like large guns, and then they'll like push people around. And I think all their tactics are just trying to escalate the situation and scare people, and like almost scare people out from documenting because they don't want people there with cameras keeping an eye on what they're doing.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, Tricia McLaughlin has put out statements saying that ICE agents are trained to use the least amount of force possible in every situation. We don't ever see that on the ground. It often seems like they are there to escalate. Usually they'll have, or every now and then there will be an ICE agent that's in full tactical gear, or a CBP agent who's in full CBP gear, and they have big cameras. And whenever you see a group of ICE agents with a camera guy, you know that they're probably going to tear gas at some point in that day. It's almost like they're wanting it to happen. They will be in areas and they'll be kind of caravanning down the street, but they'll go like 5 miles per hour and then stop every 8 to 20 feet, jump out, stand around their vehicle, get back in their vehicle, and do the same thing over and over again. In the case of Bovino throwing tear gas from the 21st of January, that's what was happening. And I'm panning the camera and you can see that there's nobody in front of them they could leave. But so often it feels like that they're just there to get their own narrative, and so we get to peek behind the curtain with our video and just see what's truly happening. They brutalize protesters. They grind their faces into the ground, and people are dragged away, bloodied, bruised, and battered. And yeah, it just feels like they just want to beat us to the ground and show us that we can't fight.
And as we mentioned, you know, have been documenting both Midway Blitz as well as going up to the Twin Cities. You know, Sam, you were just a few minutes away from where Alex Preddy was killed. What was that experience like?
So it started when we heard that ICE had shown up in the area. So we were driving to the location, if it was like 26 and Nicollet or something like that. Mm-hmm. And when we were like 5 to 7 minutes away, we heard that there were shots fired, and we were like, what the heck, what just happened? So we had no clue who shot or like what happened. And then we arrived on the scene, and people were already starting to get videos of the incident, and we saw just like all the shots. And from what we heard, people were already telling us, we think the guy's dead. I shot this guy just for filming. And we saw that when we got home too on videos. And during that process, I tear gassed everybody just for being there and documenting the situation.
Yeah, so pretty chaotic scene on the ground there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, we've heard from Tricia McLaughlin, from other administration officials, from supporters of theirs that, you know, the protesters who are out there, you're just sort of protecting or advocating for criminals somehow. How do you respond to that?
Well, when we see the numbers, it shows that we're not. Like, over and over, we're seeing that like a large majority of the people being detained have no criminal record. So I think you just need to look at the numbers and see what they actually are.
Yeah, when you see what's happening on the ground and you actually get to know the people who get taken. And so often what we see is they'll just be caravanning down the street and they'll just stop at a bus stop, or they'll see a black or brown person walking on the sidewalk. And they jump out of their car, they surround them, and they sometimes beat them up and then put them in their car, sometimes put them in their car. And then minutes to hours later, they'll just be dropped off miles away randomly. Some cases they're not, and then they still take people who are here legally. My uncle has lost multiple people from his church who have all come here legally and have legal identification and everything. And yet one of them was just released a month after being detained in Texas with prison garb, no regular clothes, and no phone, and they just said, get back home, and he lives in Minneapolis. And it's so common that we see them going after people who have no criminal background. And I think a lot of people see the work that we're doing and they're like, you're protecting pedophiles and you just want to let them run through our streets. And it's like, no, there's almost nobody that's pro that. It's just that we want to protect the people that we see so impacted.
We've got just about 30 seconds left, but I want to ask, clearly this is something you're very passionate about. How have your folks reacted to all this? What do your parents think?
Our parents are on the same page completely. It's been a mix of reactions from other people, just with how they view it. But I think a lot of people are very supportive and positive.
Yeah, I think they were very nervous with us getting into this, but we've always been raised to care for people, empathy, like clothing the naked and feeding the poor, so core to who we are as people and how we've been raised, that it didn't make sense to say no, and we were just trying to document.
All right, Ben and Sam Lumen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back right after this. And that's our show for this Wednesday night. We love digging into the backstory of the complicated issues facing the Chicago area. So if you're looking for more context on things like immigration enforcement and the Bears Stadium plans, check out our email newsletter, The Daily Chicagoan. You can sign up at WTTW.com/newsletter. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. Fresh off his Grammy win for Album of the Year, Bad Bunny prepares for Super Bowl history. Local Latinos join us to talk about his impact. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Nick Blumberg. Thank you for watching, stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm and sponsor of programming that offers continuing education to fellow legal practitioners in Illinois.